Anticipated motion.
Okay, and I apologize for interjecting, but it is not a public meeting in this day and age of Zoom without a technological problem. Dave, we have a message from our city attorney who's attending via Zoom, who has said that we're probably already aware, but not actually, that the room is muted and she can't hear us. You just remedied it?
Yeah, so I can hear you guys now the last like 20 seconds.
Well, you're with us now, so we appreciate that.
But it's not just me. I have someone else listening too. So it's starting like 20 seconds ago, we heard you. So if anything happened before then, no one else on Zoom could have heard, but now we could hear you all fine.
Okay.
Okay.
So I don't know if the recording caught that or not. So just briefly rewind. The minutes were approved with an amendment in the middle of page 2. And the board voted unanimously to accept that amendment. So it is already clearly in the minutes. And then after that, you were going over protocol here.
Okay.
That also include modification of the motion too.
No, the motion was accurate.
Yeah. It was the modification.
I was just referencing that the motion was a modification from the recommendation by staff.
Okay.
Okay. Well, with that, we're going to move forward with our public hearings. We have CUP and SPR 2023-04, a request by Pikes Peak Taco Mexican Restaurant, Inc., the applicant, and Morales Enterprises, LLC, the property owner, for a conditional use with a site plan review to accommodate a drive-through Mexican restaurant and associated site improvements along with common lot 34 drive off Highway 24 with a legal description of Lot 3 Brecken Heights. So staff, Karen, are you presenting tonight?
I am. So our senior planner, CJ Gates, has done all the work on this particular project, and I am pitch hitting. So bear with me, and you'll be really thrilled when he is back, I'm sure. So I will do my best to represent him well. So the chair just announced the topic. So this is our introductory slide, which pretty much covers everything that Chair Hartsfield just did in terms of the location, the proposed use of the drive-through restaurant, and it being at Lot 3 of Brecken Heights, currently has an address of 19569 East US Highway 24, and it is zoned community commercial. So again, the subject property being Lot 3 of the Brecken Heights subdivision, it is located to the north of the intersection of Highway 24 and Morning Sun Drive. And that parcel is again zoned community commercial. So here on the left, we have a broader vicinity map that shows that site in there just off of Highway 24. This particular road here is where Morning Sun Drive comes in off of there. And it's a little easier to see when we look at the zoning map here. Where this white swath is the Highway 24, Morning Sun comes in off this little hook at the bottom. And then the subject property is this pink one outlined in red. Again, zone community commercial. It is located within the Brecken Heights subdivision, which was originally approved by City Council in 2021. And that particular subdivision consisted of 4 lots. And again, that subject property is here outlined in red. It is Lot 3. Lot 2 up here was dedicated to the City of Woodland Park. And there's currently a social trail there. And then lots 1 and 4 have since had a townhome plat recorded for the homes at Brecken Heights. And the bulk of that development actually occurs on Lot 1, but there was a little bit of change down here related to Lot 4 with that particular plat. The point of access comes in here off of the Highway 24 onto Lot 4, and that's going to be a shared access point between these two particular properties. So Pikes Peak Taco Mexican Restaurant and Morales Enterprises LLC are applying for a conditional use permit and site plan review in order to construct a 1,650 square foot drive-through Mexican restaurant building and the associated site improvements on this property. The primary purpose of this building is that it will function as a drive-through restaurant, but it will also have a couple of tables. They're proposing 4 for indoor seating and then 3 for some outdoor seating. When we look at parking space requirements, it's actually based on square footage of the building. So in this case, they're based on the 1,650 square feet of building. They are proposing 17 parking spaces. And it is per our code that fast food restaurants and other food serving establishments with drive-through food service is allowed with a conditional use permit in this particular zone district. They're also working out the details between these two property owners to get more clearly established a joint access and utility easement in here through this yellow swath. So this access point off of Highway 24 will serve both lots 3 and 4 going forward. And we've got signed paperwork from the property owner of lot 4 supporting this particular proposal. So this is a more detailed view of the site plan where you can see lost my mouse. Here's Highway 24 on the lower left-hand corner as it comes in. And then this is the access point through lot 4. And then it's further back up that joint access where you would enter into the subject property. The building is here in the center part. The property is much larger than what you're seeing here in this particular slide, that it does extend further here off to the upper left. And that particular part of the property is heavily wooded and uphill. And it's also uphill here by lot 2, in this particular area. So this is the lower part of the property, a little bit flatter, and we'll look at that in a little more detail here going forward. See, this is where I'm working off of CJ's notes, and I'm a little more freeform in my presentation, so I'm somewhere between the two. Since this is a drive-through restaurant with the window, it's over here where that window actually occurs. Per our code, they are required to have a minimum of 4 stacking spaces for those cars waiting in line for the drive-through window. And because of how this is laid out, that they will actually have a number of more parking spaces that circle around that building to be able to then order and pick up their food at that particular window. So the access point off of Highway 24 right now is proposed to be 30 feet wide. And like I said, we'll provide access to both of those lots 3 and 4. In the traffic study associated with this particular application, they were already taking into account the potential use for this property, which right now they are contemplating self-storage units. But that would be coming before you at a different point through another conditional use permit process, I believe, if that's what they were wanting to do. But in terms of looking at traffic and the traffic report and the access requirements and CDOT review, that was already looked at more holistically. And then CDOT did provide some comments back, partly that they do need to get that access permit fully taken care of, and that there are some potential modifications to that access that will get ironed out through that permitting process. Per our code, when properties abuts residentially zoned land, they are supposed to provide some type of screening between those two properties. And so back from that zoning map, this property, the subject property, and the one to the lower right, lot 4, those are both zoned that community commercial, and is up here to the northeast where Brecken Homes is under development, and then the lot owned by the city of Woodland Park. Those are both a multifamily zoning, so that since they have that residential zoning, you need some type of screening between those. Right now, what we're looking at for screening really is that height difference more than anything else, with this dark black line here on this edge of the property. That is actually a 17-foot high retaining wall. That then this particular property sits considerably lower than the property next to it. So that provides some screening between those two particular uses. And then they are also proposing to install landscaping on all sides of the property. What came with this particular application was a fairly preliminary landscaping plan, and we do expect to get that detailed and more fully nailed down through the final permitting process. In reviewing the amount of area that is open space and landscaping, staff came up with an estimate that it looks like it's about 53% of the property will remain either in a landscaped area or that open space here in this northern corner.
What was the percentage again?
53. So on this slide, we have renderings of the proposed elevations for the restaurant. It is a fairly short building, so it's only about 20 feet, 6 inches in height. And it is proposed to be constructed with a mixture of materials. But we do have some concerns about the simplicity of the building. And then the fact that it is between plain and then some large expanse of blank walls, that those don't completely comply with the intent of our design regulations. So staff is wanting to work with the applicant to get that fleshed out a little bit more. So the application was reviewed in comparison to the criteria in code section 18.57, which governs conditional use permit. And when this particular slide, the application complies with these criteria in that it must demonstrate a direct need to be at this location, shall not endanger public health, shall not injure the value of bordering properties, and must be in harmony with the area in which it is located. So the development must also be in compliance with the comprehensive master plan, and this complies since this particular area is identified for commercial uses to be developed here on the subject property. And that the development must meet all city code requirements, and this may comply. That with the staff report is a copy of the city red line comments related to our review on the applicant's site plan. So there are specific things that need to be clarified with that, including the location of loading and unloading zones, the proposed renderings needing to be modified, and then utility issues. So you'll see in the recommendation of condition 2 that the applicant must submit a final staff plan resolving all the issues in the attached red line plans. So as stated, a final site plan application must be processed administratively through the planning department. And then lastly on the slide, the development must also comply with CDOT. So once they come into compliance CDOT, they will meet that particular criteria. Specifically, CDOT provided comments that they need that access permit. And then prior to the issuance of the access permit, the applicant must submit an updated site plan and traffic study to CDOT for approval. So that's included in the final set of conditions. So items 8 and 9 on this slide comply in that the development must be built to best minimize environmental and water impacts. The development must be built to minimize fire hazards, and this may comply. The application was routed to our fire district, but we have not heard comments back from the fire chief. They do have some sign-off approval that needs to happen through the actual building permit process. So we will likely hear from them at that point with any final issues or concerns. So again, this criteria here, number 11, relates to the architectural design guidelines. So as we noted, they need to do some revisions to the building design so that it more closely complies with our mountain western aesthetic, and we take care of those blank walls that are visible to the public. That one of those code requirements is that the walls visible to the public, it, you know, can't be that level of plane. So. We also look at the application relative to section 18.34. That's where the criteria is related to reviewing the site plan in particular. And we don't belabor that particular point in our presentation since those criteria are incredibly similar to the conditional use criteria that we just went through. And again, there will be a final site plan that's submitted for construction purposes, and it will get another more thorough review at that point in preparation for actually breaking ground. So the application was referred to a city and outside agencies. CDOT returned their comments, and then we also did get comments from CORE related to where that 17-foot wall is. There's also a utility easement up there, and so they're just very clearly stating that they want to make sure that wall is outside that utility easement, that they cannot encroach into that. And then they're also looking for the applicant to provide a transformer and metering location. This was posted, you know, on the subject property. The notice ran in the newspaper, and letters were sent out to neighboring properties. And we have not received any comments back from anybody related to those postings. So with that, the staff recommendation is that Planning Commission recommend to City Council approval of the conditional use permit and site plan to allow for a proposed drive-through restaurant and associated site improvements, along with a common driveway off Highway 24, with a legal description of Lot 3, Brecken Heights, 19569 East US Highway 24, in the community commercial zone, subject to the following conditions. 1, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall submit for and receive approval of a final site plan for permitted use, including landscaping, drainage, architectural elevations, access, etc. Infrastructure zoning development permit. Fees in lieu shall be submitted pursuant to Municipal Code Section 18.33.170. And zoning development permits and building permits for all new construction, including civil construction drawings, final drainage report, final landscaping plan, final site plan, final floor plans and elevations, final grading, sedimentation, and erosion control plans with best management practices, final utility plan, which is water, sewer, power, etc. Final photometric plan, and then the stormwater permit and stormwater management plan. Condition 2 is a final updated site plan resolving all issues identified in the red line plans must be approved by the city before any zoning development permit will be issued. Number 3, all development impact fees must be paid prior to any ZDP issuance, including but not limited to tap fees, stormwater capital improvement fees, transportation capital fees, etc. Fees shall be calculated concurrent with the ZDP review. And then 4, the applicant shall amend the proposed building facade to better harmonize with the Woodland Park Mountain Western aesthetic. Number 5, the applicant must submit for and gain approval of an access permit from CDOT. And 6, the applicant must satisfy all requirements and gain approval from Core Electric prior to the final site plan approval.
Thank you, Karen. Any questions for staff at this point? No?
No.
Then we'll invite the applicant to come up and give a presentation or comment.
Hello, is this on?
Yes. My name is Mike Bramlett. I'm with JR Engineering and also a resident of Woodland Park. And I have with me tonight the ownership group for Fernando Morales is going to speak just a little bit about his vision for the project. And then I'll come back in and talk through technical issues and things like that.
Thank you.
Hello,
Name and address, please.
my name is Fernando Morales. And we would like to build this drive-through. This is like a dream that we've been, planning for a while, and It's also, I think it's also very convenient for the town, for Woodland Park. Nobody has Mexican drive-through. And it's gonna be awesome to have it. So I don't know, I have to answer something else.
Can I ask, are there other Pikes Peak taco restaurants that you're associated with, or is this a standalone operation?
No, it's just, it's just the name that we just chose. And it's Pikes Peak Taco, Mexican fast food restaurant.
Actually, he's asking if there are other locations.
Oh,
Or
it's
is this your
it's
first
gonna
one?
be the first location. And if we are success, then we will be opening another location.
Thank you.
Oh, and we made
There's only a couple of copies.
a business plan.
Oh, he's gonna make us hungry, is that what?
Something.
I can share with you. if you want.
Right.
This looks good.
No.
So for the record, the document is, Mr. Morales asked me to share with the planning commission his business plan for Pikes Peak Taco. So that's what's being shared with the commission members.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Morales.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I'm just gonna speak to any technical questions you may have. As Fernando said, this is primarily a drive-through Mexican restaurant. Some seating inside, 4 tables, but it's primarily a drive-through use. Some outside seating, 3 umbrella picnic tables. And those are, I imagine people will be very much interested in maybe sitting out there and enjoying the view. It's pretty awesome from the site. We can meet city criteria. The site plan package we submitted did get comments. I would say the primary comments were related to the architectural harmony with the mountain aesthetic. There are some site plan comments, but we feel like we can meet those as a civil engineer. We have been working with CDOT since middle of this year, June, on the permit. They have just been super busy, but we have received comments. Their comments are not substantial. They are, the driveway right now, we showed it as 30 feet wide. And that was from flow line to flow line, which would be 26 feet of asphalt and 2 foot of gutter on both sides. They asked us to thin that up, actually. We're gonna propose to them a 2 foot thin, and they really didn't like our flares up to Highway 24. They wanted the flaring of the asphalt to be less, but we had proposed, and I didn't catch this in my review, but we had proposed a 52-foot radius, which is a city standard radius is 15 or 25. But we had broadened it too much. We're gonna go back and propose a 25. As far as Core, we can work with Core. I have had a conversation with Northeast Teller County Fire. Not an official conversation, but I have shown them the site plan, and they actually made a few comments to us that will be reflected in the next submittal. And then I know they have to approve it before it can go to the zoning development and permits. And we will certainly work on the architectural aesthetic and the landscaping plans. And I think this would be an awesome addition to the city of Woodland Park. If you have any questions, I could happily answer them, hopefully.
Commissioners have any questions?
Yeah,
I have one, and I think it's more or less I'm trying to gather your opinion, I think, on that entrance off 24, because I think you're actually coming in off an acceleration lane, right?
We are actually coming, it's not it's what it's called is a continuous turn or right turn lane. And that runs from Morning Sun
Yeah,
all the way past
right.
Walgreens. I live off that street and I can't tell you the name of it. Paradise Circle, I think. And that is a typical highway plan so that people can pull off and enter into and get out of the flow of the 2 lanes of traffic and pull out and merge into the 2 lanes of traffic. So that functions as a right turn decel, right turn accel,
Yeah.
continuous right turn.
I think it's because when you come out of Morning Sun, that, to me, that's always an acceleration, right? Because there's no reason to turn right, but I see what you're saying, yeah, as you get up there.
The next entryway is
Where Swiss Chalet.
Swiss Chalet and the condos behind that.
Yep.
That's where it functions more typically, but
Right.
yeah, it is an axle lane. We looked at it from a traffic perspective and there is sufficient merge. We had actually made in our presentation to CDOT, which was before CDOT did all the improvements this year, that we wanted to stripe a little differently. I met with CDOT on site less than a month ago. And they said, you know, we restriped it the way we want to stripe it. This is actual, please don't change any of our plan. And we agree.
So I think the only other question that I had kind of shadows a little bit of what George had, where, you know, we know you're coming off where you could go straight into Walmart there and you're kind of coming up. Is there going to be, is it just you're going in, looping through and coming back out? Because obviously you're not going to be able to cross.
Yes, it's a
24
right.
And to go back down again, right?
Yeah,
So are you going to be routing back through the neighborhood again then, or it's just an in and
It's
an in and
right,
an out, really?
it's what's termed a right in, right out.
Right, okay.
All but one of the entrances on Highway 24, the one at Swiss Chalet has a crossing to be able to make a left turn. This will not have a left turn capability. You will route in off 24 with a right, go up to the restaurant, go around the restaurant and go back down the access drive and right out and head toward Safeway Walgreens.
If no one else, I had some questions about, maybe you can describe to me the provisions that are made for pedestrian access into the city space, the easements that are provided, the parking that's provided, the signage that's provided, how it coordinates between lot 3 and lot 4. If you kind of talk me through, I may have some specific questions, but you may cover them if you could summarize them.
Oh, I think I could. If Karen, if you could bring up that site plan on page 4, 5, 6 of your presentation. But we do provide access, and the best.
Sorry.
Oh, no problem. There it is. So lot 2, the city park, has a social trail, and we are proposing a gravel connection to that city trail. You can kind of see it, it's sand looking right there.
oh,
Can you, where, Karen? Oh, okay.
Kind of the eastern corner of the property furthest away from 24.
We do show 3 parking spaces at the end of the common drive. And those presumably would be if someone wanted to park there to use the open space. Although I think the majority of the open space use is pedestrian from the developments up above and coming through that park. We then continue that we no longer, we turn it to a sidewalk. And take that sidewalk all the way down in front of the development. And it comes out and it connects to the Highway 24 sidewalk there. So you theoretically could walk from, I'm not sure what the north, but north of the park, you could walk from there through the woods and down to Highway 24.
And just to help clarify what's going on here. First off, the trail that goes through lot 2. I had understood when the plat was done originally, that was going to be improved as part of the development too, the gravel improvements.
I believe Brecken Heights LLC, owned by Mark McNabb, who is doing the townhomes.
Mhm.
That was embedded, and he's actually still out there working. I've walked part of that social trail, and he has some work, but I believe the term was breeze, Commissioner Brown. And breeze is nothing more than a gravel topping.
It's interesting, the corner where we're talking about of lot 3 is rounded there, so the marked gravel and pedestrian access coordinate starts at on the sort of the northeast corner and moves down. It looks like it partly crosses lot 3 and then it goes. Or sorry, partly crosses lot 4 and then it goes to lot 3. Is that right?
It is actually it's on lot 3 and crosses lot 4 right at the north end.
Yeah, that's right, because there's a rounded corner there.
And that was a later plat amendment that the
Some
townhome applicant did.
Something I'm asking here is just to help me understand and clarify the provision that needs to be in the access and maintenance agreement that's associated with this property. What needs to be in which? Couple other things I recall from the representations made earlier. I appreciate the fact that Mr. McNabb has followed through on the whole topic and has some draft access agreements too. And so we're not struggling to get that, but having done it, we want to look at that it covers all the issues on it.
Okay,
I believe he'd indicated on 2 different occasions in our previous hearing on the matter that there'd be 4 to 6 spaces. This here has 3 spaces indicated in a place that would be logical for parking for access to the trail. But of course, it doesn't mark that they are access to the trail. That would have to be picked up in a separate agreement.
and I also, I didn't mean to cut you off, Commissioner Brown. One of the comments on the site plan review by the staff was that we needed to provide more information on signage, so you've picked up on that issue. And I have seen the draft access agreement, but I will work with the landowner, McNabb, and the Moraleses or Pikes Peak Taco, and identify your concerns. And we will, in our next submittal, have a better presentation of that.
I'll tell you what I think a recommendation I would likely to be making. I want to hear people's comments on it too, and just get your reaction to it. Would actually be adding an additional condition to the approval that suitable access easement and the maintenance agreements approved by the city, including identification of at least 4 parking spaces for pedestrians accessing lot 2 with appropriate signage, must be executed and recorded.
Yeah.
So I understand. Part of it, the attachment includes a site plan for lot 4, which doesn't exist yet. So it doesn't make any sense trying to twist arms to get something done today when it's not ready. But
I would also
by
tell
having a
you,
condition that we could keep control there.
that's fine. You do have a platted easement though with the plat today that provides for pedestrian access, utility, and drainage. So that easement exists today from Highway 20, from CDOT right away to lot 2.
So what's missing in the current easements that are there is the shared access being clearly delineated. It definitely covers utilities and then the pedestrian access. But yeah, no, it's the actual vehicle access that has been omitted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
it-
parking spaces need
Yeah,
to
it
be,
can't be covered now because it's in lot 4 and it references a lot 4 it's site plan and that doesn't exist.
if we could go back to the plat, I think it shows on there.
The plat.
The plat, that was early in your presentation before this one. But we agree with you. And we will make sure that that occurs and
It looks like for me, lot 3, this isn't an issue. The easement is already marked there, that the dotted area you pointed out.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's much else there that's going to affect lot 3.
but
But
lot
they
4,
do connect, they do connect up there, so it.
in that little common area at the north end of it, there needs to be something in the agreements. Understood. And that can easily be accomplished with smarter people.
Okay,
than
as I
me.
say, with a condition that hasn't looked, when everything's ready to go, that it'll be looked at, I'm comfortable with it too, and
Got
I
it.
think. As I say, I appreciate that the developers followed through on this and is 90% of the way there.
Another question for you, so that easement or the road that's gonna be put in there, I'm sorry, Karen, can we go back to that? Bouncing you around there.
I
Be
should have
good at
had a-
this by the end of the night.
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. So there's the road. You've got 3 parking spaces delineated there. You're also gonna shrink the road. So how many parking spaces are we actually gonna be able to
Well,
have?
we're gonna be still. We'll still have to have 3. One of the, I mean, we're getting into, we have 3 shown now.
Yeah.
If we need to have 4, the area that is potentially available to us is actually off above the curb. We'd have a ramp curb and we could we can extend the road. We have plenty of room to extend the road and widen the road there. CDOT is only concerned about the width
Mhm.
in the first 60 feet off of Highway 24.
Okay,
So
Oh, I
we
see.
have carte
Okay.
blanche on our property
Right.
from
Yep.
CDOT perspective,
okay.
or their property,
Right.
my engineering.
Other questions this time? Joe Larson.
Yes, typical question I always ask is that, do you agree with the conditions that as recommended by staff?
Yes, we do.
Okay, very good. And after the hearing, I'll have a couple more questions, both for you and for staff too.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll now move on to our public hearing portion of the meeting. Anyone in the audience wishing to come forward and make comment or ask questions? No one rushing to the podium. Anybody online?
No hands are flying up, sir.
This is your opportunity to make comment online if you have any questions or comments regarding the project. Closing public hearing shortly, so please raise your hand. Again, the audience, anyone wishing to come forward? Not seeing any. Last call for online participants. Anyone's hands up, David? Well, with no one coming forward, we'll close the public hearing portion of this meeting. And there's not much to rebuttal, but if you have any further comments, why don't you come up? I think there might be some questions from Mr. Larson, some others.
Okay, can we go back to the plat?
Sorry about those, hang on.
This is a good. I want to point out one thing, that we look at subject property there in red. And immediately adjacent to it is its lot 2, which is the city lot that has been dedicated. And we talk about screening to residential areas. That is a city property, probably not gonna be developed residentially, even though it's zoned multifamily. Is it still necessary to have screening between this business and the open space?
There's not a specific exclusion in our regulations, so that's where, we as planners, I believe, get to exercise some judgment. And that's why in talking with, or in my presentation, talked about the height difference between these parcels. That lot 2, the city-owned property, is considerably higher in elevation and really overlooks some of this. So that's why you're not seeing staff push for any type of fence along up there, because fences are often one of those kind of screening mechanisms to break up the visibility. That chances are in this scenario, when somebody's hiking up through here, you actually want to be able to see out and across. And especially since it sounds like that building is gonna be where you're only gonna see like the upper part of the roof, from the lot 2 as you're coming across, and then descending down if you're going for tacos that day.
As you described as well, though, there's a 17-foot retaining wall,
Yes,
right? So, yeah,
yeah, and it's a 20-foot building.
Yeah.
So, and it is a little bit of a hill in there. So I'm estimating that it would poke up above, that wall, a good 4, maybe 5 feet, maybe even a little bit more on the uphill side.
right.
So if I can ask, and I don't know who wants to field this, because I know on the other side, it looks like there's a lot of water erosion and everything from the mountain, and it looks, with being 17 foot, you're gonna have all that water coming down off and in. Any thoughts of retaining it or trying to move it, or, trying to get it?
Yes.
Okay.
The drainage patterns. Lot 2. And actually above lot 2 to the northwest, just a little bit of that. It's a private subdivision, 11-acre parcel. We've analyzed that. We were the engineer of record for Brecken Court, Brecken Heights as well. We analyzed it at that point. On this project, we've analyzed it again, and we've calculated with engineering formulas the amount of water that comes down. We're actually trying to control that water and to some extent split it.
Divert it, yeah.
Divert it in different directions. But we also have a small water quality feature at the south end, right as you come off of 24 in the private property. There's also a pond.
Excuse me.
Oh,
Could you show the site plan,
yeah.
Karen?
Well, yeah, okay.
There, that's probably.
That's that
Oh.
rectangular thing. So we have a water quality feature there that we have analyzed for less than 1 acre site. I believe our analyzed area is almost 10 acres. Because as you know, if you drive through there, it all goes uphill from here that way. And there is another pond that is on the south end of lot 4. And so we believe drainage can be accommodated, and erosion control is the other aspect of that. And we will comply with the city codes and engineer a grading and erosion control plan when we get to that next stage with best management practices. And so no, I don't think you're going to see I've been in Woodland Park since '97, and I think those are called rills in our world off the highway. Were there then, and I don't know why that happened, because there's really not a lot of water coming down through there. But I think the retaining wall, or the little wall they did, really helped.
And then all the rock.
Yeah, that really helped, because I can remember when Highway 24 would have dirty water running down it and stuff like that. That's really helped.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant this time?
Yeah, hours of operation. I forgot to ask you that earlier. How long will the restaurant be open?
It says from 7 a.m. It's a breakfast.
Okay,
Looking forward to the breakfast burrito to 11 p.m. at night. That's in the business plan.
So on a question on lighting, site lighting, it's all dark skies compliant.
It would be all downcast lighting. That's a deficiency in the first submittal. We will have to do a site lighting plan and submit it. And I don't think it's going to be difficult to be. I don't know dark skies compliant, Commissioner Hartsfield, but I know it's all downcast and we hold ourselves to a foot candle at the property line. It's not trying to think of it's not a car dealership type style. If you've seen a car dealership in Denver or something like that, they light those up and no, that's not what this plan is.
Karen, I had a question for you. So it's interesting how many conditions are applied to this one, things that just haven't been done yet or accomplished. I'm just curious, is there some kind of timeline we're trying to meet or what? Because we don't have a response from some of the outside entities yet. We
Fire
have
department.
a number of conditions that we're putting on this, which I don't know. I've only been around for 6 months, but I haven't seen this many conditions.
There other commissioners have seen this list before. It's fairly typical.
Okay.
And a lot of what's on that list almost serves more as a checklist to kind of help. Because it's stuff you would have to do anyhow for the next phase. So things that are a little more particular are really the architectural, CDOT and core. So those are a little more specific to this particular project. But that first part, I think it's condition 1, that long list, that's really standard.
Okay. And then what we don't know, we haven't heard from fire yet, though, at all on this.
Not directly to us, no.
Okay.
No.
Actually, I was going to propose that condition.
I think you had. Did you have a condition in there?
Not from the fire department.
Oh,
Right, number 8.
there you go.
Karen,
Mhm.
who on staff reviews geologic hazard studies and reports? Is it the engineering or is it a combination of you and,
I'm gonna
Engineer?
default to primarily the engineer.
yeah?
Yeah.
Because this property, especially to the north and east, has a lot of significant slopes coming through that. And by looking at the site plan and the call for the 17-foot retaining wall, that will have an impact on total of the slope. And I wonder if the city has the ability to require a geologic hazard report and whether or not that could be referred to the Colorado Geological Survey for their review and comment.
Well, I imagine we have that ability to do that.
Yes, Mr. Brandwood, you had some comments?
I do have a technical. I'm not sure it's helpful, but. So Intech Engineering, which is a local geotechnical firm, has been involved on this site for all 4 lots. They are involved on the site now in the townhomes where the end of Brecken Court cul-de-sac, which is upper right of this corner, there's a trail connection from Brecken Court up to lot 2 as well. And there's a retaining wall, just a smaller retaining wall and steeper slope. So they have looked at the geologic there. There any retaining wall on this site that is over 4 feet in height will require a professional engineer to engineer, design and stamp it. And the recommendation we would make to the Moraleses or Pikes Peak Taco is that Intech, they are the ones that typically do that design. The wall is 17 foot at its highest point. It doesn't need to be 17 feet all across, but it's still a substantial wall. And it's a substantial wall. If you could pull up the site plan,
Okay.
and there is a reference to, you see where the dumpster is in the north corner? That's where the wall is the highest. There is a peninsula, a land coming off of lot 2, natural peninsula of land that extends into lot 3. Well, we have cut that and hence the higher wall there.
And what's the height of the wall as it heads further southeast?
Southeast,
Is
it eventually goes to 0, but it's 6, 8, 10 feet through until you get right about there.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the longest segment of tall wall. As you go to the southwest, it's at 1 foot at the end, so you can see it's dropping down quite substantially there. Because we're out of that peninsula. That peninsula also shows up on the slope analysis that we did. And I have walked it. And it's just something we're gonna have to deal with. But it's almost like a promontory that sticks out about 30 feet into the lot.
All right.
It would appear that you do want a wall or fencing of some sort of this. You got till 11 at night with cars driving the drive-in and such, because it does. It's heading over towards the back of some of the houses. Some of the duplexes have been put in there.
The houses actually are over here diagonally on this lot right there, yeah.
Yeah, right about the far.
Just north of the lot
Yeah.
is all open space.
Yeah.
Or north and east.
Think he's saying that there's no, when they make the turnaround or the establishment, that there's no wall to stop the lights from the headlights into the residential.
Grades prevent that to a significant extent. And once they get around the building, they'll just be facing back to 6 or 24 and back out, way out, so. I don't see lights from cars being a major impact on the.
Those,
residential.
the townhomes that are closest to this site in the northeast are almost 20 feet, 15 feet above this site. That's the grade. There's no, you cannot take a road, or you could not make this access go into the back end of Brecken Court. This is too much grade difference.
Looking at the site plan again and looking at the retaining wall, we got 2 of them. We got one that's basically on the north side of the property and the other one on the south side out by the new drainage detention pond.
Oh.
I also see that that drainage pond encroaches into the easement. And I didn't know if Corps was concerned about that easement as well as the one towards the north.
They're actually concerned about the one to the south. That's
Okay.
the comment that Corps has.
It's just on the
There.
other side.
Okay,
That's a 20-foot platted easement that was granted with the subdivision.
And it's actually labeled as a 20-foot utility and drainage easement.
Yeah. So we're gonna work with Corps. And we have some concepts on ways to improve that situation. Obviously, we've got to work through that minor issue. That's a, well, I don't know how to say it. It's a 20-foot easement that didn't exist 2 years ago. It has no core utilities. Core received an easement north-south to underground the electrics. I don't know. I gotta talk to Core and understand where they're coming from on that. And we are not digging down. We're actually building up because our entrance is on the north. So I gotta understand that comment from Core.
I had a question about pedestrian access to the going to the south. You mentioned earlier, once the sidewalk hits 24, building a sidewalk along the plot heading north. But the closest crosswalk across 24 is actually to the south. Is there a sidewalk there already?
There's a sidewalk, actually, there's a crossing at Morning Sun, that's about 600 feet
Right.
south. There is no pedestrian crossing to the other side of 24 until you get to Walgreens, Paradise Circle, Safeway.
Okay, I just wasn't sure if there was a sidewalk already established.
There is a sidewalk that whole length now.
Any more questions? If not, any discussion?
I think it at least introduce a discussion with a general comment that I often make when we're in conditional use permits. Just remember the standard we're using, we're reviewing this. The standard for, this is from 1857-040. The standards for conditional use permits are intended only as a minimum necessary for review. An application for a conditional use permit, even though meeting the minimal standards of this chapter and code, may be denied if it is determined that the development and use is not in the best interest of the city. So, well, at least so it means what it means. What we're being asked for here is a conditional use where without the conditional use, the land would already be zoned for and permitted as right use as a restaurant, a sit-down restaurant. So the issue relates to adding the ability to have a drive-through. I spent some time thinking about this. My own sense is that drive-throughs have an important function, and this in the city is probably a relatively good area to have a drive-through. At least that's my sense looking through it, but obviously everyone has their own view on it. Some of the other comments are condition. I sort of noted down the lack of fire department review. I'm not sure we need to add a condition for fire department review because all the final updated plans have to get city approval, and the city's not going to give its final approval until the fire chief tells them, do we need a fire hydrant there? There's some other whatever issues there are there. So I think we can probably live without that. The one area where I would recommend we add a condition is I mentioned earlier, it's suitable access easement and suitable access easement and maintenance agreements approved by the city, including identification of at least 4 parking spaces for pedestrians accessing lot 2 with appropriate signage, must be executed and recorded. And at least in my mind, that covers us. We don't have to nail it all down now because they're not in a position to make a final decision at this point now.
Excuse me, I want to just clarify the number of parking spaces because their plan shows 3 and you're saying 4.
And I said 4 because this, Mr. McNabb on a couple of occasions, in an earlier meeting referred to 4. I think I printed it out somewhere here. During the public comment section on 2 occasions, he said actually 4 to 6 spaces, hammerhead parking area. So he had a certain view of where it is, and I'm suggesting the minimum as we talk about there. If there's room and it's easy to put 6 in, fine, but yeah, so that was what was suggested. That was what was represented previously. That's where it came from.
Right. I understand that.
Lee, I'd like to clarify why I also recommended the condition for the fire department's approval. You notice that conditions 5 and 6 of the staff report talks about gaining approval from CDOT as well as CORE. And I thought it'd be very important to be consistent I think it's important to document that we haven't got the fire department's comments submitted to the city yet. And I'd just like to make sure that their concerns are covered through an approval process.
Fair enough. Let me write a condition that's worded sort of like those,
Yes,
Or just include them in the list.
well,
Oh, they're separate.
they're separate. The applicant must submit for and gain approval from the.
Yeah, he doesn't submit, so I would take, he doesn't submit to the fire department. The city
Okay.
does that, so
The applicant must gain approval.
from the Teller County Fire Department.
Exactly. Keep it simple. Has the city Parks and Rec board reviewed this particular project and how the access to the city open space may or may not be affected?
In looking back through this, it looks like, it looks like it was not routed to the Parks and Rec Department. And then unlike, final plats for subdivisions, that was not technically a requirement. But I can see where that might have had some value, so I apologize that that was not part of our routing.
Yeah.
So are we gonna do that? Then, or?
We can if you would like. Yeah, we can if you would like. To at least get their feedback for when it goes to council, or if you want to see it back, we can do that and bring this back to you at a different meeting.
I don't think we need to do that. I think we discussed it among ourselves, what I believe the parks board would probably review. They don't want to see access, they don't want to see parking, they want to see signage identifying where that is. So I don't think we actually need to have that. We don't need to postpone any decision on
We need to
that.
bring it back to this point,
Yeah,
but getting the input from the Parks Rec Board might be reasonable,
before city council.
if that's
If it's
possible,
Yeah.
schedule.
I think so. We will do our best.
Are you slating it for the January 4th city council meeting?
It would have first reading,
Right, okay.
because it's an ordinance is required, so it would actually be the second meeting in January when the public hearing would occur.
Mhm.
The Parks Board meeting would meet the week after the first council meeting of the month, so.
Yeah,
I don't think we would have information included in time to be like in the packet for the council hearing, but we could certainly bring it up at the hearing. Just because of the deadlines for packets and getting stuff submitted.
Staff would report on the findings of the Park and Rec Board, that would be reasonable.
You want that as a condition?
May seem appropriate, yes,
We have three conditions.
traditional. Any questions or discussions, or are we ready to go look at those conditions? From a personal perspective, I support the applicant in his proposed development. It'd be a good addition. It's a reasonable location for such a facility.
Should I make a stab at it?
Sure.
That's what we're all waiting for, Lee.
All right. I move that the planning commission recommend to city council in accordance with the staff recommendation, subject to the following. There be added a condition 7, the applicant shall gain approval from the Teller County Fire Department. And the condition 8 be added, reading suitable access easement and maintenance agreements approved by the city, comma, including identification of at least 4 parking spaces for pedestrians, plural, accessing lot 2 with appropriate signage, comma, must be executed and recorded.
Want to include a comment from Parks and Rec Board?
I don't think that's a condition for these guys to get their approval, but I mean, that's a matter of
I guess it's just direction to staff.
direction here. Yeah.
Okay, that's agreeable.
Second.
Seconded, Joe?
Yeah.
Mr. Jones, okay.
Any comments, discussion?
Aaron? This is Ken.
Hello, Ken.
Hey, how you guys doing? There was no audio when we did the roll call, and I just want to make sure I'm allowed to vote on this. Since yeah, I didn't know if you recorded me as here or absent or. but
Yeah,
I've been listening the whole time.
Yeah, I apologize. That was very early on in the meeting when there was no audio. It was right at the end of us doing roll call that I saw you pop on the screen and made note of that for the record.
Okay, thank you.
We can proceed with the vote, Karen.
Don DeSalem,
Yes.
George Jones,
Yes.
Ken Kennedy,
Yes.
Larry Larson,
Yes.
Sean Nielsen,
Yes.
Cole Middleton,
Yes.
Chair Hartsfield,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Brown.
Yes.
Very good. That concludes that item. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We did have an item B for tonight's agenda, but that has been pulled and is to be rescheduled. So going to reports, Karen, you have anything to share with us tonight?
I guess the only thing to note, then you're probably aware that the special election concluded on Tuesday. There were 2 questions on that particular ballot. The first was the citizens initiative around what to do with short-term rentals. That is the question that passed. And then there was a second question that was on there from City Council, which related to also short-term rentals and specifically Titles 5 and 18 of our regulations, setting out a mechanism by which to truly regulate short-term rentals. And that particular question failed. So the citizens proposal, which only addressed Title 18, is the one that passed. I, at this point in time, do not know what next steps are. I've not had a chance to talk to the city clerk or legal counsel. I've never been down this road before with a citizen initiative passing, so I just literally do not know what the next mechanical kind of steps are or effective date or I got nothing beyond that.
Uncharted waters.
Seeing as the big opening gap is Title 5, perhaps it's not necessary for us to insert ourselves into the process.
Well, and where we were in the process previously was at the direction of city council to prepare regulations. And we do have that requirement to provide recommendation on changes to Title 18. So it was just because they were linked together that you guys were also seeing Title 5. So that's where that is.
To follow up on what Lee said, I think it'd be very important for us to see a legal opinion saying that we do or do not have.
For Title 5?
No, 18. Are we gonna look at an ordinance?
This is the ordinance that was on the ballot.
I
So
know.
there is language behind the ballot question that is an actual ordinance that references specific sections. To insert information. The citizens did work off of work that this board had done in drafting that is my understanding. But like I said, I just don't know next steps. I don't think there's anything that comes back in front of this board.
Okay,
So I will keep you posted when I know, but yeah, no,
Maybe with the new year, we can get back to code review and see if 2 years will be sufficient to get it worked through.
And we might know finally where to put us.
So our next meeting is January.
January 11th, I believe it is, and we've got one item on the agenda that night for hearing. And it's a preliminary plat for Woodland Station.
And then we have a couple commissioners who are up for reappointment. Is that correct? Or their terms expiring?
I'm trying to remember,
George Jones?
Yep.
yeah. Don's already been
Don.
reappointed, yeah, that he jumped on that, because it's been a couple of weeks since Dory sent out those loving emails to folks to please, if you're interested and we would love to keep you, please put in your request to the city
Oh,
clerk.
Yeah.
So we can,
Certainly appreciate that.
get that on the agenda
Very good.
appropriately.
Thank you. Just wanted to be sure.
Especially since a quorum is so necessary for us to get business done,
Yeah.
effectively. And if you do that promptly here, we can get that reappointment set up for the January 4th meeting.
Yeah.
So you actually are on the commission come January 11th.
Yes, encourage that.
Now
And
that's
with-
tempting. I just might have to know.
and with that, I will let you know, city council does like to actually talk to folks.
Mhm.
So ideally, if you can be here on the night of the 4th, second best is via Zoom, just because they do want to actually talk to somebody before they reappoint them.
They talk to us again?
Yes, they
Okay.
do. Dawn is living proof.
Very good. Anything else from the commissioners? It's 7:45. Meeting's adjourned.
Y'all have a happy holiday.
Happy holidays.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Now I want tacos.
Ship out samples.